It was a big-time day for Tennessee in the transfer portal on Wednesday. Two additions, not one, but two additions, and a tight end and a kicker. All that plus why Jalin Hyatt deserves to win the Biletnikoff Award. That is set to come out tonight. The winner of the prestigious award. All that and more coming up here on your Thursday Locked On Vols.
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey everybody, welcome into it. This is your Thursday edition of Locked On Vols, and I'm your host, Eric Kane. So glad that you guys elected to spend some of your day here with me. I promise, I'll say this often, but really, it means so much more than you can possibly understand. I promise you that. Your support of the show and on YouTube, like, subscribe, please. Hey, let's get to 6K by Christmas. 6K by Christmas. A little couple hundred off here, so we need a little bit of push here. 6,000 subscribers by December the 25th on the Locked On Vols YouTube channel. I'm your host, Eric Kane. I used to do radio at 99.1 The Sports Animal in Knoxville. And hey, if you're listening tomorrow, Friday, and Monday, 6 to 9 a.m., I'm actually going to be hosting the old radio show that I was a part of, the starting lineup on 99.1 The Sports Animal in Knoxville. So something to look forward to there as well. But anyway, we got a busy day coming up here on today's Locked On Vols. Why Jalin Hyatt deserves to win the Biletnikoff Award. That award is set to come out, the winner to be announced tonight. So looking forward to that. And number two, Tennessee brought in two players from the transfer portal of the positions of need. And coming up in segment number three, top 5 performances of the season. Had a whole lot of fun writing about that over at volquest.com. So the Biletnikoff Award. What is it? Well, it is presented annually, this is from the website, presented annually to the most outstanding receiver in American college football by the Tallahassee Quarterbacks Club and Corporation. It's an independent, not-for-profit organization. It was created, back in 1994 after Fred Biletnikoff, who played college football at Florida State and professionally with the Raiders. This is how you qualify. Any NCAA Division I FBS player who catches the football through the forward pass. So that could be a tight end, that could be a running back, but it's a receiver award. Every single winner thus far has been a wide receiver. It's a national selection committee consisting of over 630 journalists, commentators, broadcasters, former players, and select winners. No member of the board of trustees of the foundation has a vote. It also does big time charity. So that's what the Biletnikoff Award is. It is a wide receiver award. And if you look back in years past, the previous winner, since they've been doing this since 1994, Jordan Addison last year at Pittsburgh won it, then darted off via the transfer portal to Southern Cal. Devonta Smith won it in 2020. Remember, he won the Heisman as well. Jamar Chase of LSU won it in 2019. He's doing some things in the National Football League. Jerry Jeudy won it for Alabama in 2018. Then so on and so forth. Amari Cooper of Alabama won it in 2014. Brandon Cooks won it in 2013. Marquise Lee, Justin Blackman, Golden Tate, Michael Crabtree, Calvin Johnson. Larry Fitzgerald, Antonio Bryant, Randy Moss. A whole lot of guys that we know who they are. They have won this award. And Jalin Hyatt is one of 3 finalists up for the award. And again, it'll be announced later tonight. Jalin Hyatt is the favorite to win this award. Why? Well, I'll tell you here in just a moment. But he's going up against Marvin Harrison Jr. of Ohio State and Xavier Hutchinson of Iowa State. Those are the 3 finalists. Jalin Hyatt easily has the best stats and resume for this award. The way I interpret this award is it is strictly stats-based, whereas you can construe the Heisman and some other awards as being much more than just a football player. A lot of people, it was just funny, the outrage about Hendon Hooker not being named a Heisman finalist. It always cracks me up when people jump in and say, well, it's much more than just stats, and you show Stetson Bennett doing this, or Stroud doing this, or Caleb Williams doing this, and remember, Hendon Hooker wrote a children's book, guys. Come on. And if I'm not mistaken, which I don't have an issue with, but doesn't Caleb Williams write FU and whatever team he's playing on his fingernails every week? That's besides the point. Again, I have no issue with that. I don't care. But the Biletnikoff looks like it's just a straight stats award. And if that's so, goodness gracious, it was an upset that Hendon Hooker was not named a Heisman finalist. It could be considered an upset that Josh Heupel was not named the SEC Coach of the Year by the coaches. By the way, Hendon Hooker swept it AP and Coach's SEC Offensive Player of the Year. So you continue to get some good vibes there. But Jalin Hyatt, of these three finalists, easily the best stat line. 67 receptions, 1,267 yards. That ranks fourth in the nation. Of course, the winner, the nation leader, actually got that in 13 games. And hold on, I'll go find that here in just a second. Receiving yards, here we go. Charlie Jones of Purdue, he leads the nation with 1,361 yards and 12 touchdown receptions. Really good year for Charlie Jones, but he had one more game to do all that, and so that's why he's ahead of Jalin Hyatt. But nonetheless, Jalin Hyatt, 67 receptions, 1,267 yards. That's fourth in the nation. 15 touchdowns, receiving touchdowns. That's tied for first, and he's fourth in the country with 105.6 receiving yards per game. That's Jalin Hyatt's stat line. Marvin Harrison Jr., who the fear is, that's a name. We all know who Marvin Harrison is. Marvin Harrison Jr. had a fantastic season, only a sophomore. He's the biggest competition. It's going to be either Hyatt or Harrison Jr. But great year for Harrison Jr. 72 receptions, 5 more than Jalin Hyatt, but only 1,157 yards. That's 110 less yards than what Jalin Hyatt had on 5 less catches. Only 12 touchdowns. Only 12 touchdowns compared to the 15 for Jalin Hyatt, and 96.4 yards receiving per game. That's ninth in the nation behind. That's about 9 behind Jalin Hyatt's 105, which is fourth in the nation. So again, Jalin Hyatt beats Marvin Harrison Jr. on every single statistical category in the conversation here. Xavier Hutchinson, again of Iowa State, is the other finalist. He had more receptions, so many more receptions than that of Jalin Hyatt and Marvin Harrison Jr. Had 107 receptions, but on those 107 receptions, only 1,171 yards, so slightly more than Harrison Jr. Only 6 touchdowns on the season. Only 6 touchdowns. He did average 97.6 yards per game. A fantastic season. What a season. Over 100 catches in a season. Goodness gracious. That is getting it done. But when you're comparing it to the other two finalists, especially Jalin Hyatt, to win this award, I mean, it's a non-comparison. Jalin Hyatt, no matter what, deserves to win this award. I mean, again, there's conversation. There were more people to be in the realm of consideration for the top 4 Heisman finalists. It is still a massive upset, in my opinion, that Hendon Hooker's not going to New York. Again, he would not have won the award, but he should be there. He should be there. If you want more of my thoughts on that, go back and check Tuesday's episode. But if Jalin Hyatt doesn't win this award, I don't know. I mean, there's that narrative out there that the national media hates Tennessee. This might prove it right. Receiving touchdowns, 15. That's tied for first in the country. That's first in Power 5. That is first in the SEC. 105.6 receiving yards per game. That's fourth in the country. First in FBS. That is first in the SEC, or Power 5, and that's number 1 in SEC. 1,267 receiving yards. Third in the nation. First in Power 5. First in SEC. 30-plus yard receptions, 15 total. That is number 1 in FBS. That is number 1 in Power 5, and that is number 1 in the SEC. Receptions of 40 yards or more, he had 11 number 1s across the board. 50 yards or more, he had 7 number 1s across the board. And 60-yard receptions or more, he had 5. That's leads the nation, FBS, Power 5, and the SEC. Jalin Hyatt, 100%. deserves to be the Biletnikoff Award winner. If he is not, that is a massive upset, and I want to know why. Marvin Harrison Jr., that name carries a whole lot of weight. I think he is a fine player. I think he will turn out to be a fine pro, but take a back seat. It does not deserve to win this award, in my opinion. So that's why Jalin Hyatt should win the Biletnikoff Award tonight. We will see if it will come true. That announcement set to take place later on this evening. All right, I want to give a special shout out to our friends over at LinkedIn. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the people for your team faster and for free. Add the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you are hiring. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experiences so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. It's why small businesses rank LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus its leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates that you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions do apply. Welcome back into your Wednesday edition. Just kidding, this is Thursday. Your Thursday edition of Locked On Vols. I am your host, Eric Kane. I appreciate you guys for hanging out with me here today. Tennessee added 2 players from the transfer portal. So it opened up officially on Monday. It was crazy. And Tennessee didn't really do a whole lot. And then on day 3 of it officially being open, Tennessee went and added 2 to its roster. It said goodbye to 5, and that's tight end Miles Campbell, receivers Jimmy Holiday and Callaway, and running backs Justin Williams-Thomas and Laneith Whitehead. And now you welcome in 2 players, first in tight end from UC Davis, McCallan Castes, and a kicker from Indiana in Charles Campbell. Let's start with the UC Davis transfer, McCallan Castes. Both these players, by the way, are coming to Tennessee for their final year of eligibility. McCallan Castes, 6'6", 245 pounds. He is a really, really athletic. He is a big target. I think Tennessee offered him yesterday, and he committed yesterday. If not, they offered him on Tuesday, and then he committed on Wednesday. I mean, you had members of the coaching staff out on the West Coast and, spoke with him, talked with him and all that. He got an offer and he went ahead and committed. The reason for the quick commitment is he wants to play in the NFL. This is what he told VolQuest. I want to go somewhere that I'm going to be practicing against guys that are going to get me to the maximum level that I can be and I can compete at. The SEC is definitely the closest thing you can be to the NFL. I think the way the Vols are trending right now, it's a no-brainer for me and my family. I like the way Coach Heupel highlights everyone's strengths in this offense. I'm excited to see how they use me. He originally started his career at Cal back in 2018. He only logged like a 15-yard reception against TCU in the Cheez-Its Bowl. He also made an appearance in 2019, the season opener against, oddly enough, UC Davis, but he didn't record any stats. Then he spent 3 seasons at UC Davis. He was all-conference all 3 of those years. He was first-team all-conference in spring of 2021. Remember, COVID, at the FCS level, some of those leagues decided to play in the spring, and he was, all Big Sky conference first team back in that season. Let's see here. He led the team with 3 touchdowns on 12 receptions for 194 yards. They must not have played many games. Again, first team All Big Sky in 2021, the fall season. He had 27 catches, 363 yards, and 4 touchdowns. This past season, he had 30 receptions, 347 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And he was an All Big Sky second-team player in 2022 and 2021, the fall, about getting a first-team nod in the spring of 2021. He's a big guy. You can do a little bit of everything. I actually spoke to one of his former position coaches out at UC Davis. His name is Paul Shelton, and I'll read you a little bit of what he told me. You can read the entire article at volquest.com by Impact Analysis. Basically, this is a quote, or paraphrasing a quote here. Super talented, really hard worker, smart guy, great fit for Knoxville, great pass catcher, was a basketball player in high school. He also ran track and played baseball too in high school. He's an under-the-radar blocker, does a really good job in that regard. He's athletic and catch the football. He's really fast. The way Tennessee will use him is kind of similar to how they used him at UC Davis. Lining up, they motioned him out to number 2. They lined him up wide at number 1. He's an under-the-radar blocker. He makes catches when he needs to. He's a super quiet but likable kid. He's funny as well. When he sets his mind to something, he goes and does it. He's not flashy. He works hard. He lives in the weight room. Great fit for Knoxville and in this offense. So, hey, that's a good sign. That is a good sign that Tennessee's getting a guy that's, and I think you kind of saw that when he committed to Tennessee. Got the offer, didn't wait on edit, didn't wait to post his visits or big time stuff like that. He just said, "All right, got the offer. I'm going to commit. Let's pull up this generic power T from Google and let's go ahead and get to it." So Tennessee addresses a major priority in the transfer portal with tight end McCallan Castes. Tennessee will likely try to add another tight end via the transfer portal. We will have to see. Of course, Princeton Fant has exhausted all of his eligibility. Jacob Warren still has a year of eligibility, but it is to yet be determined if he will use that. Of course, Charles Campbell entered the transfer portal. You have Ethan Davis coming in, a part of this 2023 signing class. Once he does sign, he's committed right now, but he's coming off an injury, and he'll be a true freshman. So a big get for Tennessee and McCallan Castes from the transfer portal. Again, 6'6", 245 pounds. The next one came in at about 7 o'clock last night as kicker Charles Campbell out of Jackson, Tennessee. He's from Indiana. He's from Jackson, Tennessee. He kicked for the University of Jackson, University School of Jackson. That was his high school. And he's a pretty good kicker. I know he's like top 5 in terms of some kicking records and top 3 in a couple categories at Indiana. He's kicked for 4 years. Let's see here. Actually, 5 years. All the way back in 2019, 4 years, excuse me, he was 2 for 2. Both of those kicks in 2019, mind you, when he was a freshman, were from 40-plus yards. He had a long of 48. In 2020, he was 10 of 11 on field goals. He was 3 of 3 from 50-plus. In 2021, he was 13 of 18 on field goals. He was 1 of 2 from 50-plus. In 2022, he was 14 of 20 on field goals. He was 1 of 2 from 50-plus. Overall, throughout his college career, he has shown he started off really hot, 10 of 11 in 2020. He missed 5 and 18 opportunities in 2021. He missed 6 and 20 opportunities in 2022. But unlike Chase McGrath, who I thought had a really solid 2 years here at Tennessee, sometimes I might have been a little bit too hard on him because, in my opinion, he just didn't have that strong of a leg. I know he hit a 51-yarder at Pittsburgh this year. I think he missed a couple of them within the 40 range. Charles Campbell shows that he can hit those long range. Look at this. In 2022, he was 4 of 5 in kicking field goals from lengths of 40 to 49 yards. In 2021, he was 6 of 8 in kicking field goals 40 to 49 yards. He was 2 of 3 in that category in 2020. And with 50-plus yards, again, he made all 3 in 2020, and he's been 1 of 2 each of the past 2 seasons, with a long of 51 this past season, 55 yards in 2021, and 53 yards in 2020. So this guy's got a leg. He does. Might not be as accurate as McGrath in the short term, with the shorter kicks, but this guy's got a leg, 100%. This past season, he was 100% on extra points attempts, and he had 69 points overall on the season. So Tennessee needed a kicker. I think we got asked on Twitter Tuesday earlier this week, what's Tennessee's plans for kicker and punter next year? Well, Jackson Ross is going to be your punter, and you had a couple local kickers and in-state kickers on the roster, like JT Carver, but I'm not sure if he's ready just yet. Well, that'll buy him another year. Charles Campbell will come in and kick this next year. So Tennessee adds 2 kickers via the transfer portal, and kicker Charles Campbell of Indiana, who is a Jackson, Tennessee native, and tight end McCallan Castes from UC Davis, formerly of Cal, as well. All right, when we come back, let's discuss the top 5 performances of this past football season right here on Locked On Vols. But first, I want to remind you guys about our friends over at BetOnline. It's your number one source for your sports betting information, stats, news, and analysis. Get all the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there, from football to basketball to soccer to esports. They've got it all, and that's at betonline.net. If you're loving sports podcasts, like, of course, Locked On Vols, we know you love that one. You can check out some more sports podcasts as well at BetOnline. Always the fastest and easiest way to get in your sports betting fix. Tennessee is right now currently a 4.5-point dog in the Orange Bowl against Clemson. Jump on that. Get some value there with Joe Milton and the boys for Tennessee on December the 30th. Head on over to the website today or use your mobile device to learn about all the latest trends and all the action. BetOnline, it is where the game starts. All right, guys, one more segment left here on this Thursday edition of Locked On Vols. Really do appreciate you guys for being here top 5 individual performances. And we could probably devote an entire show to this. And if you guys want me to discuss some individual performances from different games or plays or whatever, you know where to find me. Fill out those comment sections, _Caner and at Locked On Vols, where you can find me on Twitter. I really could spend an entire show on this, but let's at least broach the subject. Let's at least discuss it a little bit here in segment 3. Really good performances. I mean, Tennessee was 10-2 this year. So, I mean, in the regular season, there was a ton of really, really good performances. So it was pretty tough just to trim it down to 5. But here's some honorable mentions. Tyler Barrett against Pittsburgh, 4 tackles, 2 TFLs, 1 sack. That forced a fumble right before the half when Pittsburgh was driving. He also had, I want to say it was it 4 TFLs against Missouri? It was something good there as well. Amari Thomas, 5 tackles against Florida. He had a forced fumble that led to a Tennessee touchdown. He had 1 pass breakup and 2 quarterback hurries. Darnell Wright against Alabama, which is not getting talked about enough. You guys know, again, how I feel about that. Will Anderson Jr., who was the SEC Defensive Player of the Year, sweeping both media and coaches, and got some national awards as well. Darnell Wright held Will Anderson Jr. to no sacks and no quarterback pressures in that win against Alabama. And Princeton Fant, it's against UT Martin. That's why I didn't put it in my list over at VolQuest.com. You can check out the entire story. But just the stat line, I'm in love with it. 1 reception, 17 yards. By the way, he had a touchdown drop in that game too, so he could have been even better. But 1 reception, 17 yards. 2 carries, 12 yards, 2 touchdowns. 1-for-1 passing, 66 yards, and a touchdown. That stat line is freaking cool. So that misses just the cut, but those are my honorable mentions. Number 5. How about Jalin Hyatt against Vanderbilt? I mean, dude had 2 touchdown runs of, 83 yards and 50 yards. He led the team with 160 yards on 5 attempts, 2 touchdowns, averaging 32 yards per carry. Goodness gracious. Jalin Hyatt actually led the team in rushing this year. Jabari Small led the team with touchdowns of 12, but I think Jalin Hyatt had like 10. Tennessee ran the football really, really well this year. And his 132 yards? His 160 yards really helped him to cement himself as the leading rusher with 786 yards on the season. Again, I love that Vanderbilt game because it was what a response by Tennessee, who, for all intents and purposes, pissed away a chance at the college football playoff the week before. Came back, shut out Vanderbilt, and had a season high in rushing with 362 yards against the Commodores. Touchdown runs, 2 from Jalin Hyatt at 50 and 83. There was a 52-yarder from Jabari Small and an 80-yarder from Dylan Sampson as well. So my number 5 individual performance from this season was Jalin Hyatt against Vanderbilt. Number 4, how about Biletnikoff Slaughter against Kentucky? Making his first career start at cornerback. Remember, we hadn't seen him in like 3 years. He comes in and plays a little bit of safety against LSU, starts the next 2 games at safety for Jalen McCullough. McCullough comes back. Biletnikoff Slaughter moves to corner, starts his first ever game at cornerback, and is responsible for 2 turnovers. He has an interception later in the football game. But man, oh man, my favorite play of the year. He had Dane Key coming across the middle on a slant. There's cushion there. Like all Tennessee backs, given cushion there. But instead of just coming up and trying to secure a tackle, Dane Key makes the catch, and Biletnikoff Slaughter comes in and just railroads him. Just pow, smacks him. Pops the ball loose, and Juwan Mitchell gets it and runs down the sideline. You guys know how I feel about that play. Just awesome. Responsible for 2 turnovers and his first career interception. Biletnikoff Slaughter against Kentucky, limiting Will Levis, who looks like he's going to be a first-round pick. I don't know how, but just to 98 yards passing. So what a game for Biletnikoff Slaughter. Number 3, Cedric Tillman against Pittsburgh. Cedric Tillman had a year to forget, of course, of that high ankle injury. Unfortunate for him. I think he was limited to like 6 games altogether this season. It's really kind of sad. But the game against Pittsburgh, Tennessee couldn't run the football. And Alex Golesh essentially said, all right, I'm going to go to my guy that I know that can win us this football game. And that was Cedric Tillman. And Tennessee went to Cedric Tillman on 18 occasions, tried to. I think he had 9 receptions, but he had 162 yards altogether in that football game. He had a touchdown, of course. It was the game-winning score in overtime where he fought back for inside leverage, came back and got the football. What happens if Cedric Tillman doesn't haul in that catch in overtime? Does Tennessee still win 10 games? Maybe. Does Tennessee beat Florida in 2 weeks? Maybe. I don't know. But That game was a massive one, and Cedric Tillman's performance against the Panthers was huge. So my number 3 performance of the season was Cedric Tillman against Pittsburgh. Number 2, and gosh, I don't know how this is number 2 because it'd be number 1 any other year. Hendon Hooker against Florida. Heisman moment for sure. Put him on the map, put Tennessee on the map. Just incredible. Tennessee lost 16-17 in the football game. CBS televised at primetime, or the 3:30 slot. ESPN Game Day, College Game Day, all that. It was on campus. Tennessee didn't back down. Hendon Hooker did not back down. 22 of 28 passing, 349 yards, 2 scores through the air. He had a team high 112 yards rushing with another touchdown. He had a 44-yard scramble when he was sacked. He found Princeton Fan on a 3rd and 10, backed up deep in the own territory, organized a 12-play, 99-yard drive to take the lead right before the half. Man, he was in freaking incredible. He was good under pressure in this football game, 5 of 8, 43 yards, and threw for a touchdown when he was blitzed. Hendon Hooker's performance against Florida when he was banged up as well was one that we will always remember. Number 1, Jalin Hyatt. We know this. Jalin Hyatt against Alabama. He had 6 catches on 8 targets, 207 yards, 5 touchdowns when Tennessee knocked off Alabama 52-49, snapped a 15-game losing skid to the Crimson Tide. He broke, he doubled his touchdown total in that day, came in with 5, left with 10 touchdowns, broke a Tennessee single-game record for receiving touchdowns. He tied Alabama's Devonta Smith for the SEC record in the category that he set in 2019. His 30 points scored off touchdowns tied a volunteer program record for single game, matching Gene McEver, who rushed for 5 scores all the way back in 1929. In the ballgame, Hyatt recorded the 6th most receiving yards in program history at 207, registered Tennessee's 10th 200-yard receiving performance all time. But it's the way he did it. 2 touchdowns in the first half to give Tennessee a 2-touchdown lead. He tied the game once more and gave Tennessee the lead in the second half twice more. Just fantastic. Just a freaking phenomenal game. And that game put him on the map to be a Biletnikoff Award winner, and his stats prove it. But it all really started with this football game against Alabama. So, the top 5 performances from me, Eric Kane, of this football season. Honorable mention: Tyler Barrett against Pittsburgh, Amari Thomas against Florida, Darnell Wright against Alabama, Princeton Fan against UT Martin. Number 5, Jalen Wright against Vanderbilt. Number 4, Danico Slaughter against Kentucky. Number 3, Cedric Tillman against Pittsburgh. Number 2, Hendon Hooker against Florida. And number 1, Jalin Hyatt against Alabama. Do you agree or do you disagree? Check it out at _Kane or at Locked On Vols and fill out those comments in the comment section here on YouTube. That is going to do it for this Thursday edition of Locked On Vols. Guys, I really do appreciate it. Tennessee, 2 big additions via the transfer portal. They're not done. They'll continue to work the transfer portal as well as the coming weeks go by and on through the spring. And we'll have it all right here, Locked On Vols. We'll see if Jalin Hyatt wins the Biletnikoff Award. That's set to come out later tonight, and we'll talk about it tomorrow. Guys, appreciate it for making Locked On Vols your first listen each and every day. Check out Locked On Sports Today, biggest stories of the day, game recaps, your take of the day, all that and more. That is Locked On Sports Today. Make that your second listen behind Locked On Vols, your first listen each and every day. Guys, really, really do appreciate it. Same time, same place. We'll do it again tomorrow. This is Locked On Vols.